Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 1st of January 2021. That's right everyone, it is a new year, so happy New Year's to all of you. I hope you had a great New Year's Eve, and obviously today is New Year's Day, so hope you're watching this, relaxing with a cup of coffee or something, looking forward to a day off work hopefully. But yeah, so basically, I put out this tweet today that I'm giving a kind of like a New Year's gift to everyone. And I announced that the Daily Gwei ecosystem, so the newsletter, the YouTube channel, and kind of anything else that I launch in the future is going to remain free forever. So that means no sponsors, no ads, no subscription fees for any of the kind of newsletters or anything like that, no premium groups, none of that stuff. I'm a firm believer in education being free. And I don't like blame anyone for monetizing it. I mean, myself and Eric do it with ETHUB. But for me personally, through the Daily Gwei, I just want it to remain free. I think that, I can reach a much wider audience like that. I can educate a lot more people. It's easier for people to share the content as well without it being gated or whatever. But as I said, don't blame anyone for doing that. People got to make a living, right? So yeah, and as I said here, I'll keep producing free Ethereum content until I drop dead or go crazy. Maybe I'll go crazy first, but I don't think so. I enjoy doing this too much. I enjoy kind of the feedback that you all give me, and the really great conversations I have with some of you that DM me on Twitter and things like that. It's really great to talk to you. So feel free to do that at any time as well. Join the Discord channel too. We've got some good discussions going on in there from time to time. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions you want, like in that channel or DM me or whatever. I will always reply. As long as it's not like, pure questions about like what should I invest in and stuff like that. I'm not going to respond to those sorts of things, but, kind of like questions about, stuff about Ethereum and like that stuff you're confused about, like how-to guides, things like that. I'm always happy to answer. So yeah, enjoy the free content going forward. Tomorrow, actually, I'm putting out so there won't be a Daily Gwei Refuel as it's the weekend, but I'll be putting out a yearly recap for 2020. So definitely look forward to that as well. I mean, I was getting all the content together over the past couple of days, and I'm like, wow, a lot of stuff happened. And I kind of had to cut back on, the non-major things happening because the video would be way too long. But yeah, it's safe to say Ethereum had a pretty incredible year in 2020, and it's specifically DeFi, right? But just coming off, I guess, like the bear market in 2018 and 2019 into 2020, and seeing how much growth kind of happened, it's just incredible. But yeah, I'll go over more of that in tomorrow's video, so definitely look out for that one. All right, so as it's the end of the year, or was the end of the year, we had a bunch of projects put out their recaps. So Zappa put out one of theirs. They basically hit $1 billion in transaction volume in 2020. I think 2020 was also a breakout year for Zappa, given that they were huge beneficiaries of the DeFi kind of summer and the I guess like yield farming movement. They offered a lot of tools to help people get into and out of that, monitor their positions and things like that. So they obviously had like a really big year there. So they recap it here. I won't go into everything that they're saying here. Basically, they're recapped every month, and we get down to the bottom here, and I think they have 2021. What they're going to be doing in 2021. So they're teasing a mobile app. They've got a BTC bridge into DeFi directly from the dashboard. And they're gearing Zappa towards community efforts, from streamlining protocol integrations to simple token additions and kind of stuff like that. So yeah, a lot to look forward to, a lot that's already happened. Disclaimer here, I am an investor in Zappa, so I just want to make sure that I get that out there. But I basically invest in things that I use all the time, right? For me, it's a no-brainer. I used Zappa and still use Zappa so much. It's just insane. Like the Zappify dashboard, basically. I use it pretty much every day. And, during DeFi summer, as I had a lot of things to monitor, through different addresses and stuff like that, I was just living on it. So for me, it was like kind of a no-brainer to support the team there. Really, really great team. They're building something that I think, we need this sort of stuff, right? We need this stuff for newer people, especially, that, and not just, I guess, newer people into the ecosystem, but everyone wants to keep track of what they're doing. Etherscan's great, but it doesn't offer you like all the portfolio features. It'll just show you like, what tokens you have, your transactions, stuff like that. I mean, obviously I love Etherscan, but it's, Zappa goes beyond that. And there's other tools as well. It's not just Zappa, right? There's DE Bank or DeBank, Zerion. There's a bunch of others out there. So I think that, it's not going to be a winner takes all thing. I think that people will use what they kind of want to use and what they feel comfortable using. But for me, that's definitely Zappa. So, congrats to them on a great 2020. Another team that had a really great 2020 was Optimism. So Optimism is the Ethereum scaling team building optimistic rollups. You've probably heard of them. I think they're the most well-known Ethereum scaling team. So basically, they had like a really, really busy year. They detail it here. A lot of like in the weeds development going on within Optimism to basically get their product to a testnet version with synthetics. They've been doing a kind of testnet there, and they basically have announced in this post that they're going to be rolling out their mainnet, I think in Q1, or January 15th, they've got a mainnet soft launch going live with synthetics. So that's huge, right? I mean, I've said a few times now on the Refuel, and I continue to believe that 2021 is the year of adoption for layer 2 Ethereum. 2020 was the year of kind of, getting these things to mainnet, putting them out there so developers could play around with them and get comfortable with them, right? And that takes quite a while. But I do think 2021 is when we're going to see a lot more projects adopt it. We already have projects like Loopring, Diversify, Polymarket, all these sorts of things. They're on layer 2 already. But we need to have a flourishing layer 2 ecosystem. We can't just have a couple of apps on there. We need everyone to move to layer 2 and have their own implementation so that we can have that money Legos going on again, right? And that we can have that composability and that whole flourishing ecosystem there. So Optimism is at the forefront here with a bunch of other teams, of course. They've been working like super hard for a long time now. I mean, they used to be called Plasma Group, so they were working on Plasma for the longest time, and I think Optimistic Rollups was like the spiritual successor to Plasma, so that's why they renamed themselves to Optimism, which is a fitting name, right? But yeah, they're one of my favorite teams in the space. They have killed it this year with their technical progress. They've made a lot of breakthroughs, and I can't wait to see what they do in 2021. Some more predictions from Twitter. So Eric Connor, I guess my co-founder at ETHub, longtime friend, he put out some predictions for 2021 here. So basically he says that ETH2 Phase 1 will go live, which is sharding in 2021. I mean, I agree with this. I think it does, unless there's some sort of delay for some reason. I think that we can get Phase 1 live in 2021. And this brings just... So it doesn't bring, I guess, quote-unquote full sharding, where the shards will have execution. So they won't be running smart contracts on their own or anything like that. They won't be doing like transactions and stuff. What they will be doing is acting as like data availability layers. What that means is that layer 2 technology can actually use the shards as data stores. So the data that's on the shards can be used by layer 2 to do all the execution, right? All the smart contract stuff, all the transactions. So that's what Phase 1 is. He doesn't mention in any of these predictions about the ETH1 to ETH2 merger. That can still happen in 2021 in theory. I don't expect it to. I expect it to happen in 2022. But it can happen if, as far as I know from the people I've spoken to, there's been a lot of work done there to get it to a point where, the only thing that they're really waiting for, I mean, in terms of like critical thing that they have to wait for, is basically for the beacon chain to be live for at least 6 months, ideally 12 months, to make sure that it's stable, right? Because once the merger goes through, if there's a critical error on the beacon chain within proof of stake, then that affects ETH1 as well, right? Which is obviously a very big concern for these teams. So, or for, I guess, like the whole ecosystem. So yeah, I expect to see the merger in 2022, but I see no reason why, Phase 1 sharding can't go live in 2021. He also says he expects to see 8 million ETH staked. I don't know about that one. We have 2 million right now. That would require another 4x. I know that there are some centralized exchanges like Coinbase that still haven't rolled out their implementation yet. There's Rocket Pool, the decentralized solution as well. But there's other solutions already live. And I don't know. I mean, the fact that it's locked still for a year plus from here, and the APY is what's the yield right now? I don't even know. I think it's less than 15% right now, given how much ETH is staked. I don't know if we'll get to 8 million. I mean, I hope he's right. I mean, locking up 8 million ETH would be really cool, but we don't even have 8 million ETH in DeFi, right? And DeFi offers the higher yields. It offers, more that you can do with your ETH and things like that. But maybe with the kind of more centralized exchanges coming on board, Rocket Pool and things like that, we see more ETH staked. But yeah, I think he's very optimistic about 8 million ETH staked there. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that one. He goes on to say EIP 1559 will be implemented. I pretty much agree with that. I'd say there's like a 90+% chance that 1559 goes live this year. It might be the end of the year, so don't think it's going to come like anytime soon. But I think, we could see it in Q4 of this year, right? Because the testnets are going well. The implementations are kind of done. It's just not on mainnet, right? We have to wait for a few different things to go through on ETH1. ETH1 moves quite slowly. You've probably noticed that. The protocol work at least moves slowly there, but it is happening. And yeah, I agree with him. I think this year will be the year of 1559, which is the most highly anticipated Ethereum upgrade in history, I think. Besides ETH2, of course, but in terms of like singular kind of upgrades to the ETH1 network, this is definitely up, number one. I can't think of anything else that was as anticipated as this. In terms of like impact, in terms of community support and things like that. Just, yeah. He goes on to say new ETH all-time high. I mean, I 100% agree with that. I say there's a 0% chance that doesn't happen. And I'll even go as far as to say is that I think it's happening, high chance it happens this month in January, and pretty much 100% chance it happens by February. You think about it right now, the price of ETH is what? I can see it here, $737. All-time high is basically 2x from here. Think about what Bitcoin did within a matter of, a few weeks or a couple of months, whatever. It went from 10K to 30K, essentially. So when these things want to move, they will move. So I have no doubts we'll see ETH all-time high this year, and I think we'll see it in either this month or next month for sure. He says 2 major DeFi applications will be on layer 2. I actually think he's conservative here. I think we'll see more than 2. I mean, I already know for a fact that Synthetics and Uniswap are going to be on layer 2 in terms of major DeFi protocols. So that's 2 right there. I think we're going to get at least 5. Obviously other projects like Compound, doing their own thing where they're going to essentially a side chain to Ethereum, which is fine. But yeah, I think we're going to see more than 2 at layer 2 this year for sure. He says we'll see 5 DeFi apps in the top 10 on by market cap, so their tokens. I mean, I hope this is true, but I don't know if I see it. The market seems to have a fascination with these other layer 1 protocols still for some reason. Like, it has been, so many years have gone by, and every single attempt to kind of kill Ethereum or take on Ethereum has failed at this point. And that's not to say it'll always fail. I mean, I believe that Ethereum will always remain dominant, but the market still loves their layer 1 protocols. You can look at the top 10, and it's basically, from memory, there's like Cardano still in there, there's Polkadot in there. Even outside of the top 10, there's a bunch of other layer 1s there. I hope that we see a re-rating and that the DeFi tokens, the actual things that are being used and producing cash flows, go into the top 10. I don't think we'll see 5 in there, unfortunately. And, even though XRP has been targeted by the SEC and it's dumped so much, I mean, I still think XRP is going to remain in the top 10, unfortunately. LTC, I mean, there's these, Bitcoin Cash and stuff. There's these zombie kind of chains as well that are just there. And it just puzzles me. I just don't get what the market's fascination is with these things at all. But I do think that, and this is an investment advice, but I do think that the DeFi tokens, I mean, if you look at the top 30, I think only Synthetics is in the top 30 by circulating market cap, which is insane. It's like, what? Like, the rest of the top 30 is just complete garbage. Well, most of it, not all of it, of course. So I think that we're going to see a lot more DeFi tokens enter the top 30. I don't think we're going to see 5 enter the top 10, unfortunately. Not this year. The market still has an extreme fascination with layer 1 protocols. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of buzz around Polkadot lately. And not to say it's a bad project or anything like that, but I'd argue that some of the DeFi apps on Ethereum have way more traction than Polkadot does as an entire ecosystem at this point. But I guess when you invest, you're betting on like the future, you're investing based on narratives. Like, this market loves narratives, since it's primarily a retail driven market. People love to latch onto narratives, and everyone does it. I mean, I do it as well, right? Narrative investing is a huge thing. So that's why I think we see a lot of that stuff in the top 10 still, but we'll see what it looks like. If you go back and look at the top 10 from prior cycles, it was completely different to what it is today. So we could see a complete change in there. But I thought something like Litecoin would have been out of the top 10 long ago. It's still there. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's like just behind XRP. So it's like 4. This is crazy. What? I don't even know anyone who uses Litecoin. So, it's just puzzling, but it is what it is. So we'll see how that plays out this year. And the last prediction he gives is that we're going to see one regulatory crackdown on a DeFi app. I mean, I agree with this. I think we're going to see more than one. These things are starting to grow so big and seep into the traditional system that regulators are coming. And I've spoken about this before on the Refuel. Regulators are coming. They're going to try and crack down on these things. They're going to try and, regulate it in a way where it's really bad, I guess, for the ecosystem because they don't understand it. So it's on us to educate them there, but I think it's also on us to make sure that these things are resistant to regulations, right? Let's not screw around here. This is exactly what we're building. We're not building DeFi and decentralizing out finance to be, for these apps to be able to be cracked down by regulatory bodies. No, we're building this thing to be outside of that system, and that for better or worse, right? I mean, I'm not going to give an opinion on what I think about kind of regulations in general and like whether that's good or bad. But the whole point of decentralized finance is to be outside of the system. So, in my mind, you're not a true DeFi app if you can be kind of like approached by regulators and forced to do something that, harms your app, or like there's an admin key or anything like that. And I understand the kind of the progressive decentralization that a lot of teams want to do by holding an admin key, and that's fine. But you can't expect to be basically, I guess like a true DeFi app unless you're actually fully decentralized, right? So, I mean, it is a spectrum too, so we'll see what happens. But it's these predictions, I mean, as I said, I agree with most of them. There are some there that are a bit optimistic, but that's what these predictions are for, right? You want to be optimistic about certain things. So I guess we'll revisit all this sort of stuff at the end of the year. Another big year ahead of us for sure. So another kind of thing that had a big year in 2020 was Uniswap. I actually would argue that 2020 was the year of DeFi, but the biggest beneficiary of the entire DeFi movement was Uniswap. I wrote about this more in the Daily Gwei newsletter, so if you want to go read more of my thoughts there, go check that out. But and I won't talk too much about it here. But basically, the most striking thing for me when I was writing the newsletter and looking at the stats was that in January of this year, Uniswap did $60 million of volume for the entire month, right? For the entire month of January. In December, I think, from memory, it's done over $10 billion of volume in December. That's, an incredible amount of growth, right? And their total value locked in January was 30 million. It's now 2 billion plus, I think. Uniswap has become like a household name. It's basically mainstream. It's the biggest app on Ethereum, I think, but, within DeFi and outside of it. So yeah, I would say that 2020 was Uniswap's year, and not only its year in terms of growth, but also, they launched the V2 of their protocol. They launched the Uni token, which was the greatest airdrop of all time, right? If I had to say, if you had used Uniswap with multiple addresses, you got more tokens, and the token was trading at a really high valuation. You just got like a really great early Christmas present, basically. So yeah, and then in this review, they also say what's coming for 2021. So they have V3 coming, which, people have been hyping up V3 like it's going to basically be the best thing since sliced bread. We'll see. I mean, I have faith that it will be really, really amazing, but we'll see what it's like. Governance improvements, which I think are sorely needed for Uniswap. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have followed it, but Uniswap's governance is a bit of a mess right now. But I think, we'll see them kind of tackle it in 2021 and improve it. And then lastly is a layer 2 implementation of Uniswap they've hinted towards, which I think is going to be a game changer for the space. I mean, I just said how I believe that 2021 is going to be a year where layer 2 gets kind of adopted. by these teams, and I think Uniswap is gonna lead the charge here, for sure, because they're one of the biggest apps. Obviously Synthetics as well has been trialing out layer 2, but I think Uniswap's gonna be just as big, if not bigger, just purely because so many people use Uniswap, right? I mean, I'm sure all of you have used Uniswap at least once in your kind of Ethereum career, I guess you could call it, and I think the team that they have is stellar. They know exactly what they're doing. They have such a great, spirit within Uniswap. The community loves them. I think they're gonna do good things in 2021. So we'll see. We'll see how they go. I'm curious to see if their growth in 2021 is as explosive as it has been in 2020, or another app kind of like grows more or something. We don't know, right? I mean, if you told me that yield farming was going to be as big as it was in 2020, I would not have believed you, because yield farming wasn't even a thing at the start of the year. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. So Fuel Labs have released V1 onto mainnet of their optimistic rollup technology. So for those who don't know, Fuel Labs is another scaling company, basically working on optimistic rollups like Optimism is. And they're claiming to be the first ever optimistic rollup, and it brings true scalability to Ethereum for a range of payments-focused applications. So yeah, they're focused. I mean, Optimism and their optimistic rollups is focused on, I guess, like the more smart contract side of things. And trading within DeFi, sort of like with Synthetics and Uniswap, whereas Fuel has decided to focus their scalability on just payments, right? And they're doing this by using a UTXO based model, which is basically the model that Bitcoin uses. So for those who don't know, Bitcoin's blockchain uses a UTXO model for I guess like sending and receiving Bitcoin, whereas Ethereum uses an account model, where you have like an Ethereum account and you can have tokens in there, you can have your ETH in there, you can do certain things with it, you can have like your NFTs and your ENS name and stuff like that. Whereas because Bitcoin is basically just a payments network, it has a UTXO based model, which actually is better for payments than an account model, for a number of technical reasons. So that's what they've released today. They're claiming that Fuel V1 can support up to 500 transactions per second today. I think they're going to try and scale that up. It costs less than 2,000 gas per transaction, which is, I think, 1/10 of the amount that it costs to send ETH on mainnet. You can pay fees in ETH or DAI, with others coming soon. So yeah, that's really great. If you want to go play with this, I'm sure you can go to fuel.sh here, this website, play around with it. But as I said, 2021, big year for layer 2 Ethereum coming. ETH Global, over the last couple of days, they put out this tweet. They did a survey of Ethereum developers, a massive survey. I mean, I talked to the person who was involved here, and they said it took them a lot of time to do this. But basically, what this is, I mean, it's a very comprehensive report of the Ethereum kind of developer ecosystem, and it's a 20-minute read, right? It's huge. You can go and read the full post for yourself. Obviously, I'm not going to read it here, but they have got some highlights here from the results. So basically, Ethereum devs placed higher value on the impact of their work compared to the general dev community. I mean, that like rings true with what I kind of have, heard, and the devs that I've spoken to. They feel like they're building something that's going to change the world, right? They don't feel like they're just building something for the sake of it. And that's exactly why Ethereum is so great. I think one of the reasons is that developers actually organically come here. They haven't been bought or paid for, right? They're not mercenaries. They actually want to build something that changes the world. So that kind of result was no surprise to me. The barriers to entry for developers, unfortunately, include poor documentation and devs believing they did not know enough to contribute. I guess that's imposter syndrome, right? The second part, we all suffer from that for sure, and I think developers suffer from it. Like one of the groups that suffer from it the most, unfortunately. But poor documentation. So this is the thing with programming languages and coding and developing on new platforms, is that documentation, can be scarce, can be hard to find, can be like split up between different places. I think the ethereum.org website has a really great developer section now, but still, we need to obviously improve that. And really interesting was that 68% of respondents also hold ETH, right? And that just kind of like aligns the incentives as well. They're building on Ethereum, they're developing apps, And all of that will hopefully lead to obviously a high ETH price, and they'll benefit economically from that as well. So really, really cool to see this. I mean, I highly recommend going and giving the entire survey a read over here. There is heaps of information in here. Like, I'm just scrolling through it now really quickly. Go give that a read. It's very, very interesting. Highly recommend it. All right, to end off the video today, I just wanted to go over this tweet that I put out, I think it was yesterday. So basically what I said was, comparison is the thief of joy. Remember that during this bull market. Now, I kind of wanted to expand on this. Basically what I mean by this is that during a bull market, you will see people on, Twitter, you'll see your friends, you'll see people making lots of money, right? That's just what's going to happen. You might have gotten a taste from this in DeFi Summer. Now, you might think that they're making more money than you, or they have more money than you, or they've made better decisions than you, or whatever, and you might start comparing yourself to them. And then even though you've made a lot of money, right, or you've made some gains and you've done a lot of great things, just by virtue of you comparing yourself to them, it's kind of like stealing your happiness away from you. It's making you feel inferior because you haven't, maybe done as good as them, or you're assuming that they've done better than you. And I think it's important to remember that you need to stop yourself from doing that, right? Because it's just going to leave you in a worse off position. Especially, if you're trying to trade or invest, you might actually end up screwing yourself even further by trading out of a position, trying to chase another pump, or investing in something that you're just chasing because someone else invested in it, sort of thing. I mean, I've personally done this. I did this in 2017. I was mostly ETH in 2017, and obviously being mostly ETH was still very good, but there were times when ETH was sitting at I think ETH sat at $300 for 2 months or something in 2017, and during that time, a lot of the other coins were going up, right? Going up very fast. I remember there was a coin called Nano. It was called Ray Blocks before Nano. That went 100 times in a few weeks. And I was like, wow, that's insane. And I felt really I knew a couple of people that had rode that up, and I felt really kind of depressed about it. I was like, wow, I mean, even though obviously I had made money during the ETH bull market, I was like, wow, I could have made so much more money if I just bought this, right? If I just followed them. And I had to really stop myself from FOMOing into this sort of stuff and chasing pumps. And from then, obviously over the past couple of years in the bear market and then during this bull market, kind of, basically train that muscle. And it's something that I think that if you're newer to the space, you really need to make sure that you train, because if you don't, there's nothing worse than, I guess, not only comparing yourself to other people and feeling depressed about it, but then trying to either copy them or trying to be better than them, or trying to make more money, and then putting yourself in an even worse off position. So that's just something I think that everyone should remember. Bit of, I guess, life advice, I guess you could call it. But at the same time, you don't have to listen to me if you don't want to. Do what you need to do. This isn't investment advice, but just some advice from someone who's been around for quite a while, seen people, try and chase pumps, seen people compare themselves to others, get really sad about, not making as much money or whatever. It eats away at people, and it's not healthy. And I hope to, that you guys don't fall into something like that. So yeah, just something to keep in mind for the coming 2021 and maybe 2022 bull market. We'll see how we go there. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, give the video a thumbs up, join the Discord, subscribe to the Daily Gwei newsletter. And yeah, tomorrow, I guess, is Saturday, but I'll have the yearly recap out tomorrow. And then after that, I guess I'll see you all on Monday. So have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks.